Hello there, and welcome to Doctor Who Radio Show. I'm That's The Way It Goes 09, and this is no one. It's thin air, the vacuum of my bedroom, which of course is usually frequented by a mini hot top totty. Anyway, this is a review for the latest brand new episode of Doctor Who Season 7 Part 2, or whatever the hell we're going to call it next. The Rings of Akhenaten. I'm not entirely sure why it's called the Rings of Akhenaten, because there's no rings in it particularly. There was one ring, but that was a ring to do with Clara Oswin, given to her by her mother. And anyway, this is a review of said episode, and I'm afraid it was 70% spam, and I normally like spam because it is nutritious, it is sexy and delicious, like myself, but the rest of it, in context of this particular spam, is crap. And the rest was good, but really that's only down to a few things, and it's certainly nothing to do with the logic behind this episode. He basically takes Clara Oswin Oswald, so good they named her 3 times, and to wherever she wanted to go. And did she say a year like 1066 or something which the Doctor would like, a concert by the Beatles? No, she said somewhere awesome. And where exactly is somewhere awesome? You know, to a gay man, somewhere awesome is up the backside of I don't know, some hunk like Russell Crowe, I presume. You know, to someone who's drunk, it would be a pub where you never have to pay for anything. Awesome is going to One Direction concert for people who haven't got any idea what real music is. She didn't want to go to Paris, did she, in the 1800s? She didn't want to visit the pyramids when they were being built? No, she just said somewhere awesome. So the decision wasn't really hers at all. Anyway, he takes her to a place which is yet again another thing influenced by the cantina from Star Wars A New Hope. You know, the usual thing, lots of different alien species, badly rendered, obviously people who've just plonked them on their heads, the costumes, that is, not the aliens, although if you actually happen to be from the film Alien and Aliens, Alien 3, Alien 4, the last two being shit, then you would have a face hugger, so I suppose you technically would have an alien on your face. And I like that bit. I rather enjoyed that. It's rather funny, especially a bit where the Doctor mentions that the last time he brought anyone to this particular place was his granddaughter. Doesn't necessarily have to be Susan though, but I think most people would have thought, oh brilliant, Susan, the original you might say, companion of the Doctor. The second thing I liked about it was something that had me sort of bemused. I honestly thought that some bastard had spiked my sodding coffee or something, because it had this bizarre sort of woofing called Doreen, some sort of werewolf dog alien thingy. But what really made me laugh, apart from the fact that she was barking, and she wasn't aggressive, she was just simply, that's how she speaks, sort of, the TARDIS doesn't always translate everything perfectly. What made me really laugh was the fact that when she was barking, at one point she had a limp wrist. Yes, this alien from a place nowhere near the planet Earth was bending her wrist as she was barking, and she's a female. I don't know, perhaps in this part of the galaxy, barking alien beings are, I don't know, inclined to limp their wrist like a really bad third-rate version of Kenneth Williams, such as Alan Carr would do in his private moments while sitting on the toilet counting the whiz money. I'm sorry, I just found that really hilarious. I mean, seriously, I don't know, perhaps Doreen, the werewolf who barks a lot, is a homosexual or something. Yeah, a lesbian werewolf. I don't know. Anyway, moving on swiftly after a debate about lesbian werewolves. And they're basically going to go to the Festival of Offerings, which is rather nice. I like that bit. And then it went all shit, basically. All shit. It degenerated, quite frankly, into a weird sermon about how atheists and science is right and religion is a load of bullshit. It was just one big lecture that you would hear from fucking Richard Dawkins, yeah, who bizarrely enough has appeared in Doctor Who and is actually married to Romana Mark II, bizarrely. Fancy that. I'm not entirely sure the logic behind this, but at one point in this episode they're both sitting in the audience, yet again surrounded by all sorts of, wonderful, bizarre aliens. I wouldn't go into detail about each of them, because just watch the episode. Some are rather clever. Some are Star Wars or Blake 7 or Star Trek influenced, and others are straight out of Blade Runner, really, and other science fiction such as The Fifth Element. Basically there's a ceremony, really. It's sort of like a church bit where you're singing to your god. But unfortunately it went on and seemed a bit poncy. So anyway, here you have this little girl who ran away from these aliens coming to collect her for the main sort of extravaganza as part of the Festival of Offerings. The clue to the end of this is in the title, Festival of Offerings, and it evolves into a episode of Harry Seacombe's Take the Highway. In the 1980s, Harry Seacombe, after being in the Goons, presented a religious show on ITV in the 1980s, and at the end he'd start singing, "My Lord is what told me, my Lord, my shepherd, and that sort of thing." And that's what it was like. I mean, seriously, I've expected Harry Seacombe and the fucking Pope to turn up. Yes, you'll start singing together, doing sort of, I don't know, Catholic, Christian, Muslim karaoke or something. Start singing, Bridge Over Troubled Waters or something. Shame it wasn't Silence is Golden by the Tremblors, but never mind. Anyway, and then they realise, shock, horror, that actually this is going to result in a sacrifice, hence Festival of Offerings, dumbass. I mean, this is the Doctor. You'd have thought he would have known about this. I mean, here he is at the start of the episode introducing all the aliens who come from this sector of the galaxy, and he knows everything about the festival itself, and yet apparently doesn't know about the sudden end of the actual festival. You've been to this before and you don't know. It's been going on for thousands of years according to the Doctor, and he was there last, presumably in his first incarnation with presumably Susan, unless it's somebody else. And here he's been completely oblivious. And here he is at the start paying homage and respecting and even delighting in the different races and the custom of this particular place. And what does he do? Interferes with the bloody sacrifice, which is the reason why the big catastrophe, villain, whatever, of the week has to be overcome, directly because of his sudden interference and his so-called Time Lord outrage, but really it's just a load of atheist bullshit. It makes no bloody sense. He's not the bloody hero. The Doctor basically caused the whole mess. And then you have another bit which is absolutely brilliant, and another good point about this episode, which isn't part of the 70% shit that was on display in this episode. Matt Smith does an absolutely shocking and terrifyingly brilliant monologue. He literally seems to be foaming at the mouth at one point. He literally reaches inside the very essence of a 1,000-year-old Time Lord and his experiences. Everything he's willing to give up to this sort of planet that's like a sort of space-dwelling entity, I suppose. Perhaps it's appeased by memories, it keeps, substance. And he just absolutely, in just a few minutes, proves why he is, quite simply, better than David Tennant. Because David Tennant, maybe once or twice during Russell T Davies's time, never had crap stories like they've had recently. Hit and miss is an understatement. Matt Smith is a sodding brilliant Doctor, and in that monologue where he's going on about entire laws of physics created by madmen, he literally was tightroping between anger, sadness, remorse and tragedy, all in the space of just one monologue, and that is absolutely incredible. It was perfection. It was the most delicious bit of acting I've seen so far, and really just absolutely barnstorming, and that made the episode actually survive becoming Twin Dilemma. I don't want to say that fucking title. I mean, seriously, what a bloody bit. I mean, and that's the point. It made you, as a viewer, want him not to lose those memories, because it was obvious that the Doctor treasured those memories, while at the same time being absolutely terrified and haunted by them. And then, of course, here we go. It's time for the companion to save the day. I thought this was called Doctor Who. Not, well, let's just let the companion do it, because apparently this is the age of feminists, so, God forbid that the 1,000-year-old Time Lord should find a way to wriggle out of this. I mean, for all we know, he might have met one of these species before. And yet, can somebody explain to me how she managed to go on her moped in front of someone that's supposed to be like a gigantic star, a sun burning off radiation, and yet she's still alive? It doesn't bother at all. And it does explain the whole leaf in the book thing. And if you've been wondering why my voice is crazy, it's because I've been ill for the last 5 days, and it's still bloody going on. It's a bit like watching the Twin Dilemma, basically. Just goes on. And I'm afraid this episode wasn't terribly good. And what ruined it, really, as I've said, was the atheist sermon on how sacrifice is bad because blah blah blah, and the sheer illogic of him taking her to a ceremony that he's apparently been to before, and yet he doesn't know that there's a sacrifice involved. And then he interferes with it, knowing full well, since he's been to it before, what would happen if it's actually interfered with, i.e. the big smiley face and that red bastard will start to threaten the entire planets and gobble them up. Like that git, the wolf in the Three Pigs or something, I don't know. Anyway, that was me in Doctor Who Radio Show. Until next time, some Ice Warriors in Cold War and David Warner. Don't miss it, I warn you. Or rather, I warn you.